Okay, so it appears the Denver Broncos will be moving on from Russell Wilson after a second season under center at Mile High. Denver paid a king's ransom to trade for Russ from Seattle, but after it was announced Wilson would be benched in favor of Jarrett Stidham, the Broncos did not want to risk injury of Russ and be forced to pay him an additional $37 million. This has been a really tough season for Broncos fans after the abysmal 1-5 start to the campaign, followed by a string of wins in the middle of the season, and then the recent 2 consecutive losses to the Lions and Patriots have now seen their playoff chances vanish rather quickly. There was a ton of drama all throughout the season on the team, especially when it came to Russell Wilson, but the recent lashing by head coach Sean Payton on the sidelines has now started to have many in the media begin to publicly call out the Broncos coach. Recently, Ryan Clark of ESPN went on a tirade in which the former safety had some pretty strong words against Payton, so have a listen to what he had to say.
Doesn't make it okay.
From a business standpoint, I agree with you. You know, Mike T, like they're making the decision based on money and the financials. And when Daniel says this is the deal that we signed or we offered Russell Wilson, it's not the deal that we or us did because Sean Payton wasn't there. Right? True. And so the business of it is not a problem to me. But let's be honest, Sean Payton has behaved as a thug since he became the coach of the Denver Broncos. Immediately when he gets in the building, he starts to undercut Russell Wilson personally and professionally from his first press conference on. He tells Russell Wilson, you have to stop kissing babies, stop behaving as if you're running for office. Nobody kissed more babies in New Orleans than Drew Brees. Period, point blank. From the beginning, he walked into this building and he had a point to prove when it came to Russell Wilson. You're going to be just like everybody else. I'm going to treat you just like I treat everyone else on the team. That's not the way it works with franchise quarterbacks. Right? With a franchise quarterback, he's talked to differently. There are conversations instead of being talked at. You don't berate them on the sideline against the Detroit Lions because you don't agree with their play. We watched Sean Payton in New Orleans for a decade and a half, never treat his quarterback this way. And so now as you move through and you hear about the phone call, you hear about talking to his representatives, about restructuring or doing whatever they wanted him to do to the contract, this was just a means to an end for Sean Payton. This was going to happen at some point. It just happened toward the end of the I don't believe there was a thing Russell Wilson could do to make Sean Payton like him. I think from a personality standpoint, it was a bad match. I think schematically, it was a bad match. But my point is this. Let's hold Sean Payton to some sort of professional accountability. His behavior as the head coach of the Denver Broncos is unacceptable. If I'm the Walton family, I do not want somebody representing me this way. And I want to say this about Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson takes a hell of a lot of heat. The humility that Russell Wilson has shown, the professionalism that Russell Wilson has shown inside of that building while being treated that way by that man, all I got to say to Sean Payton is you lucky you had the right one.
Okay, so I agree with most of what RC had to say. On the business side, I have no qualms with the Broncos wanting to move away from Russ and asking him to remove the injury guarantee because at the end of the day, if Russ doesn't want to, he doesn't have to accept it. I don't think there was anything wrong with what either party did. The Broncos for asking to remove the injury guarantee and Russ for declining it. That's just the business side of it. But as for his comments regarding Sean Payton, I get what he's saying, but probably wouldn't have used the word thug to describe how Sean Payton was behaving. Yeah, 100%, he's mistreated Russ during his tenure thus far in Denver. Berating him on the sidelines was the worst mistake he did. You just don't do that to a franchise quarterback. And I'm sure some of you are going to bring up and compare the time Tom Brady got chewed up by Bill O'Brien, saying if it could happen to Tom, that it could happen to anybody, but that still doesn't make it right. Russ is a Super Bowl winner, a 9-time Pro Bowler, and is probably going to finish in the top 10 in almost every major QB statistic. The way Sean Payton has handled Russ in his first year has been absolutely horrendous, and this all goes back to the beginning when Sean jumped on board in Denver. As soon as he got there, he made a lot of changes to all the perks and privileges Russ was receiving from the team that was agreed to after he got traded from Seattle. He got his second floor office taken away from him, making it clear he wasn't going to receive any VIP treatment. And I understand Russ had a terrible first season with the Broncos, but this year he's been decent and has played very well at times. Maybe not to the same level he was in his last few seasons with Seattle, but there have been a few games where he has led his team to victory. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for Russ. Over the last 2 seasons, he has been one of the most vilified and trolled athletes in the NFL, and a lot of that might be on him with his corniness off the field, but the guy has been a class act for pretty much his entire career. Even when he's been attacked fair or unfairly, he has never responded to any of the attacks directed at him. The only criticism I might have for him is that he was the one who actually campaigned for Sean Payton to be the Broncos head coach, which probably isn't too surprising considering he campaigned for Sean to replace Pete Carroll back in Seattle. Anyways, what do you guys think of RC's comments about Sean Payton, and what are your thoughts on this whole Russell Wilson situation in Denver?